Because sometimes like he wants to go outside, I'm make sure he's not like having to go.
I think he's alright.
Right?
Does he look like he has to go outside?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we could pause. We'll be right back. What up, family? Welcome back to another episode of TAIOACI. I didn't tell you the name of it, by the way. TAIOACI.
You did. You mentioned it.
Oh, I did say. Okay, TAIOACI, which is the artistry of a creative, the identity of an individual. So the whole idea of this is to kind of get more of the backstory, the history, the cultural background, kind of get to know an artist, but where they came from and how they got to their artistry. So today we have a special guest. I don't even know what to call your work. He makes wood, he does all this type of art. I'll let him explain what he does. We have Pablo Ricatti. Thank you for coming, Pablo Ricatti. Okay, so we have so much to talk about. Before we talk about this, I have to let everyone know, my wife's cooking in the kitchen, so you might hear some clicks and clans here, and then you might hear the dogs, because he brought his dog Guinness, and my dog Momo is somewhere in the background. So you might hear them bark, playing around, their chains moving around, just to kind of let you guys know of that. However, we're not here about that. We're here to talk about Pablo Ricatti. So, Pablo! All right, so explain a little bit, just to start off, what it is that you do. I know that you work a lot with wood, but I also know that you've come from all, because when I met you, I met you at Oasis, at Purdy Lounge. I was DJing back then. And that's where I met you.
I was painting.
And you were painting.
Yeah.
So I guess talk about like where you are now as far as your art and what you do as a creative.
Yeah. I don't know. I like to consider myself that guy that like when people go try to get something crazy made.
Yeah.
And they get like 100 people that are like, nah, I don't know. I won't take that on because it's crazy. Like I'll say yes.
The crazy artist that will do
trouble.
it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, no, involves wood mainly because that's what I'm mainly using. That's the main material I would say. But no, all disciplines I think under the work. You know, it really is the client. I've been lucky.
So your focus is wood, but you kind of are open to just create
glass, metal. Like it's it's just creation. It's just whatever it calls for. You know,
awesome.
whatever is needed.
What's the latest project you've worked on?
The latest project, I did some really high-end picnic tables.
What?
Like $5,000 picnic tables. With like the highest end wood to make it look like they're outdoor. Simple, normal kind of things, but they wanted them in an indoor setting of like a faux golf course, inside an office. So kind of Google type stuff,
I mean, like this table big or bigger?
Yeah, big. Like we did 2 that were like 9 feet, then one that was 6 feet, and we did another one that was like 8 feet.
Man, and your shop is based in Miami or where you work?
I work at a makerspace.
Gotcha.
So that's a term that I learned actually. About a year ago.
Okay.
Although when I first had my first shop in Wynwood, that's kind of what we were doing. I thought I invented something, Me and my buddy, we opened up a little shop just like right across from Panther.
Yeah.
It was the Wynwood Alley. I don't know.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, I built that place with him.
Oh yes, yeah, right around there. Yeah, I remember meeting you down there like a while back. We were trying to start a party over there.
For sure. Yeah, so we were in there and we were just messing around. We were inviting all our friends. We were like, hey, come use the tools. We share and we just like all collaborate and do stuff. And I was like, I like this idea, and I like people setting up their little corner with their stuff and whatever. And I thought I was inventing this kind of co-collaboration. I mean, I heard of it before, and then Wynwood grew and it got ridiculous. And one day my landlord told me, you could stay, but your rent is triple.
Oh man, yeah, because Wynwood just blew up.
So,
especially that whole space once they started creating a lot more.
Yeah, that was the center.
Vendors,
was like the center
right?
there,
Man, that's crazy. So it's been a long way coming. All right, so this is where we are now. All right, so let's backtrack. Okay, Let's begin with family. Okay, so I know for myself, family, friends, community has been a huge influence on what I do and where I am today. So how has your family influenced you as a woodmaker, as a creative artist? How has they influenced from parents to siblings to however that may be?
Well, woodworking was something my dad taught me when I was a kid. And
no way.
It was passed on. I must have been like, I don't know, 5. As soon as I could pick up a hammer, I was already doing stuff. My dad was always building everything inside the house, really nice, exquisite, finished pieces. And it was not his profession. He did something totally different, but he enjoyed it. It was really something he enjoyed. And it came from handed down. We had woodworkers like in the family. Like when I go back and he started telling me history, it was like, oh, this guy was, an ebonist, which is an ebonista, which is like the fine woodworkers, that sit there and, we had one, I don't know what I call him, uncle, I don't know, far in the chain somewhere that would make the heels for women's shoes.
What?
Yeah, you know, when
Yeah,
before machines made them, he would take the piece of wood and they
Oh
were
my
like finely
gosh.
done, and he would sell it to like super high end.
And what country was that happening?
That was in Italy.
That was in Italy.
Yeah, that was
so
in
that
Italy.
wow.
Yeah,
So that's like a long way coming.
Yeah, so it was there, you know, when I took the interest, you know, I did it as a kid with my dad. It was something fun. I built throughout my whole life, was always building stuff, you know,
Man.
but I never saw it as a profession. And then
So from age 5 to like you growing up, were you just continually doing it just to do it?
yeah,
or
I
just...
was always the guy, you know, like, oh, I'll build that, you know, I'll build this,
Yeah.
I'll build that, and it was fun. We built all sorts of stuff. I mean, big stuff, you know. My dad would just put me on. We did this. I remember this huge gazebo we did at my house that was like 40 feet long and
Unbelievable.
20 feet tall, and it had, you know, just my dad and I, you know.
Have you ever worked on a collaborative project with your dad at all or anything?
Yeah, he's always coming in and like I'm like, hey, just like, hey, will you make this part for me real quick, you know? Hey, try a hand at this. I mean, he's busy, you know, he's always working, but when he comes to the shop, yeah, I put him, yeah, do this for me, you know, whatever. But he's at very least gonna critique and give me that critique that I need.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that fresh eye, because sometimes you're working on things so much that you're so close to it that you
Yeah.
don't see it. You know, you gotta step back. So.
So you were talking a little bit earlier about how your father had a huge influence on you as far as like how you see things and how
Yeah.
meticulous you are. Can you elaborate a little bit on
Yeah,
that?
when my dad, you know, when I was little, he would point out things, and I catch myself doing it now with kids, you know, like kids, you know, are into so much these days. I like taking them and say, hey, look, do you notice how this little thing works right here, you know? And so my dad was that way. He was, did you notice how this works? You see how this little lever, and it's just the minimal, it's just what you need, and this is good design. This is how it's done. This is the way it's made. And this is made out of good materials, and it came from this.
Yeah.
And all that. So he broke it down for me, and that was really my education that led to like appreciation of other designers.
Nice.
I was never the type of like say, oh, who are the main guys in the industry doing this or that. I would really concentrate on design. And then I started over time seeing that certain guys were
Oh, this
doing
person
a lot of
creates
the
all
work
of
that I
this, and
like,
this person
you know?
does that. Yeah.
Mhm. Almost like watching movies.
Yeah.
You know, one day you're like, I like this, all these groups of movies. You're like, oh, that's, you know, Wes Anderson or something. You
Oh
know?
man.
Made all those movies. So yeah, but my dad was a big influence. Big influence. He's a perfectionist, like to the extreme, to the max. And today he has like a really cool job that allows him to put all the different disciplines that he's done in his life into like a project management mode. So he manages actually creatives that create buildings, like really special spaces, you know.
Man.
So
All right. So before we get into like the interdisciplinary approach to like your work, now you said that your background, Ricatti is Italian.
Italian, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Now, how does the like Italian influence and you're Argentinian, correct? Right?
Argentinian.
In Argentina, do those two have some sort of influence in like the type of work you do and also the design aspect that you have as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah, Argentinian. I like to consider myself humble, but you know, Argentinians have this big thing of like being all big ego, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Not that I agree, I just agree.
yeah. No, it's cool, man. But my point in that is that the Argentinian side sets a certain amount of pride in the work, you know, just in anything. Just
Yeah.
like, so I had that influence from I guess Argentinian side, and from the Italian side, it's just, you know, it's that love for everything. It's like the design that comes out of Italy is everything, and it's because they put love into it. Like it sounds cheesy, but it's really the real
It's
thing.
very detailed
you know?
in everything that it does.
Yeah, they go into the beauty of the feminine and masculine and look at everything, and you know. So from that side, I definitely had that influence because everything I ever liked was Italian. Everything I ever designed well was Italian. You could build all day long, but like you build something with love, you can see the difference.
Absolutely.
You know? So that
Is there
that
a
influence
piece
is
that
great.
you can that you kind of like can think of or remember that there's just so much detail in it that you just loved putting?
Yeah,
in
there was a
work?
piece that for me felt like my breakthrough piece. It was about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I had a client come to me who I had met synchronistically, you know, like through different people, kept pointing me to this place. And the client was, I've been very lucky. I've had fantastic clients who let me have 80-90% of the say on how the thing goes.
Wow.
You know, but this client came in and was like, dude, this is what we need to functionally create, and I'm giving you 100%. Just go.
What?
You know. So I was like, really? So I went nuts, and I went and I made this table, this 30-foot long table that we did sacred geometry into it. We poured resin into it. We probably poured 30, 40 gallons of resin into the whole table by the time we were done. It had stones, had 28 different types of stones, crystals in the table. We did the chakras, we did sacred geometry going from the first stage to the seventh.
Yeah.
And in each desk, the lip of the desk was resin filled and had the, not only the crystals shifted all the color from like the actual chakra colors.
Man.
And then inside we went to the clients and we asked, because it was kind of like a family oriented design firm. They're in Wynwood, it's called Product 81. And they do things with love. And so we asked them to give us little trinkets and things, that meant something to them. We cast it all in the resin. So the table, when you look at it, is just like, you can stare at it for days and find little things, keep finding, the people that work there, it's a communal workstation, so they're all able to put their computer stations on this one 30-foot long table. And every time I go, they're like, dude, I just found something new in your table.
Is this is like an office space? Or?
Yeah, it's an office space.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a 50-foot long room, maybe by like 20 feet
Dude,
wide,
that's
with this
phenomenal.
30-foot long communal table in it, and a dozen people work at it.
Wow.
With like their full
How long was
systems.
this process to make it?
It took them a solid month and a half. I think month designing and a month building. Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
And I can just hear the way you talk about it. It's just like,
for me it was
so
a
much
really
fun.
big deal, and it was a really big deal because it was they put a very big responsibility. It was obviously an expensive project, and like they trusted me with it.
Yeah.
It felt like.
So for you, in your woodwork, what is it about it that you love, or what is it about this process, this creative process that you go through that you're just like that you're passionate about?
Wood is a nice material. It's
Yeah.
both soft and hard at the same time. It could be very strong, and you can but with a hand tool you can just get at it and change it, and shift it, and then each wood has an aroma, has an oil, has an essence to it, And I didn't know that part of it when I was young. I was just working wood. Because early on when I started, I was kind of limited in my palette of woods, let's say, right?
Yeah.
You start working with like the cheaper stuff, the easier stuff, the more accessible stuff, pines and whatever. But as you get into exotic woods and hardwoods and different woods, like you start seeing, wow, there's like a life in this tree. You can smell it and feel it and breathe it when you're cutting it and working it.
Yeah.
Some are toxic, some are like some will make you itch, some will have an effect on you.
So it's more than just like working on the wood. It's like a nature experience for you.
Yeah, it's a nature experience.
Yeah,
That's what I like about it. When I got into it, it was by accident. I didn't think. I never said, "Oh, I'm gonna make a business out of woodworking." Like I never did that. I was doing graphic design and branding for like 9 years. I'd been on my own for those years, and then I had a friend of mine. She was like, "Oh, can you build me?" Her and her sister and her mother do jewelry out of Wynwood. Custom designers, makers make it themselves. And can you build us a little bohemian kind of cart that we could push around? And we also wanted to be able to break down, take to New York for shows and things like that. So I did this really cool piece. They loved it, and then I led to another client, another one, and that's been it. I've never advertised, never looked for anything.
That's it.
Just one piece.
You just love what you do.
Yeah, and I love it because it's tangible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the graphics that I was doing before and the engineering that I was doing before that. I mean, the engineering, I was more on the design side on the desk, and then there was the
digital is not always something.
Yeah,
that you can
it's just I realized one day everything I've done for the past 9 years creative, it's on a hard drive. And it's the printed out stuff is like a pile right there in the corner of the place. So and it's a lot of work I put into that, but it's like there it is, it's tiny.
Yeah.
As opposed to you create a piece of furniture, and if you do it right, that thing will last decades and decades and decades, and people have it in their house and pass it on. And who built this? And they come back to you.
That's gotta be so like living.
It's a nice feeling, man.
When you see people using it's not even just like, oh, that's a nice piece of art.
Yeah.
It's like interactive. Like people are handling it and using it.
I'll tell you a hard part about what I do, which is I'll work on the piece. Like for example, that table, a month designing it solid. Then the client said, approved, this is done, go. And I created it. So a month working on it, and it was kind of tight. I could have maybe used another week, but we got it done in a month. And when I finished it, I didn't even have like an hour with it.
Oh my God.
I went out the door, and I was like, no, I'm not ready to say no, and that happens all the time. I want another few days just to look at it, just to like
Just to be
analyze
around it,
it and
man.
see what the
I
heck
never
I made. You know,
thought about that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So, but I go and I visit the clients. You know,
Yeah.
I go and I check it out, and then I see it later. You know, but that's always the hard part at the end of letting go the piece.
yeah.
You know.
Is there a difference between when you create something simply solely for you or from you
Yeah.
versus for a client? Like when
Yeah.
you go into it design wise.
Well, that's where when I was in branding and doing graphic design and stuff, I kind of defined for myself something to help myself in that world, because when you get into that world, you're essentially artists that are going into that world, and you become designers. And it's important to know the difference between an artist and designer.
Yeah, elaborate,
and
please.
know the role when you're playing it. You know, because if not, one will kind of like trip you up into the other.
Gotcha.
So like if you're a designer, if you're designing, you're taking that role, and you can be an artist and designer.
Yeah.
But if you're a designer, you're having input come from a client or from someone, and you have to take that input, and you have to take that route, and you have to take the decisions that they make, even if they, you're painting it pink or blue or something, and you don't want that color. You
Yeah.
have to go that route. That's the designer.
Yeah.
You're applying your artistic things as a designer. You're hired.
Got it.
Artists should be original thought, or at least trying to always get to original thought. I don't even know if that's possible, honestly. Philosophically, I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, right.
But, you at least want to shoot for that. You want to be, you could let somebody influence you. You can take somebody's advice about what to do or how to do the piece, but the decision comes down to you.
Yeah.
It shouldn't come from anybody else.
Man.
I think that's the difference. So if the one thing that's helped me in my whole creative career is being clear with that.
Yeah.
Because
Like you want me to design, or do you want me to be the artist?
yeah,
right now?
you want me to do some artistic. Usually I'll just create it and then I'll sell it.
Yeah.
So I had no reason. I just felt like making it, and then I sell it. Designers, they come to me and they say, hey, I have this thing I want to make, and it has to serve a certain function, and so then I apply creativity to it and I put out what they need, but it's design.
Yeah.
I don't
never
get
really
prima donna over there.
I actually never really thought about that, because even in the work that I do, from dancing to DJing and now public speaking in pastoral ministry, when you think about it, when you create something, it's coming from a place, but depending on the inspiration. So if someone's like, hey, I want to do this, and you're like, okay, I can create it, but you're still working with somebody in collaboration to it.
Yeah.
And that's a different process versus I'm just chilling at home and I want to make something and then I'm going to release it. It's just a different outcome.
Collaboration is great because it's kind of like the artists being designers and like being okay with it, And so like if you can collaborate well with somebody, it's because essentially you're able to play designer well as playing your own certain solo artist,
Oh man. And you said that this, not the concept, but like this understanding, you learn this a lot in graphic design.
Yeah, because that field is like you'll feel, especially when you're doing branding, right? It's a lot of psychology happening, and I never studied that, right?
Yeah.
I worked as an engineer for like 2-3 years. I got super bored. I knew I wanted to go into creative. I was drawing since I was like 2 years old, so I wanted something where I was drawing. So I taught myself graphic design because the programs,
Especially in this day
I'm sorry,
and
but I
age.
pirated the programs. All right.
Who hasn't?
Maybe 1 or 2 of you out there have done it. But I was like, this is a vehicle right here that I could just like start the software, apply my abilities, and like work for myself.
Yeah.
Like immediately, I could just start doing it right now. And so I started doing that with like flyers for the beach, like all the different places, and
events and everything.
I was doing that for a couple of years, 2-3 years, and that was when it was really being tested. You're really being tested to be the designer because somebody's coming to you for a flyer,
And you got to work.
you can't
with
be a
people.
prima donna. First, you're making like $150 on a flyer,
man.
and then if you like start going into I'm this artist and all this thing, when the flyer, you're never gonna make it, man.
Yeah.
You're gonna be burnt out, and they're not gonna bring you more work or whatever. So I was very clear with like I'm designing right now, and that's like a simple example, but there could be an example where like you're morally asked a question, like I was very fortunate when I went into graphic design. I started working for this company called Creative Juice. It was the first agency experience I had after being on my own for maybe 3-4 years at the beginning, and these guys we were a small agency. We were doing South Beach, the city of Miami Beach. We were branding them. We were branding like half the hotels, Cleveland, Essex. We were doing.
Oh, so you're doing some major work in graphic design.
Yeah. I have logos all over South Beach, like all over, like
Oh man.
all over Miami. logos everywhere. Like I did that for 9 years straight. I did it strong. I was the lead designer, and then there would be production artists like doing my work and applying it into all the different things, t-shirts, billboards, whatever. But these guys, you know, they were very conscious about like the work that they were doing. So I remember after about 6 months being there, I was loving it, and they said, oh, you know, we have this client, huge client came to us, wants us to do all their work. So much money, but it's pornography. So they brought that to everybody all the designers, like, how do you guys feel about this? And we were able to make that our own decision, you know. We all said no, we didn't do it, we didn't want it. You know, nothing wrong with porn, but you know, like it's just, you don't live that every day. You don't do that every day.
That's not where you were at.
No,
I get it.
But sometimes you don't get to make that decision. You know, you're midway through the project and you see, the client is not so cool, and you're really making a cool brand, and they're gonna really just take advantage of people with this thing. And so you got to be clear that you're playing designer. You know, if not, you'll start acting like a prima donna.
Man. Okay, so we're talking about so many different. Okay. All right, so graphic design, you said 9 years, and you mentioned that you went to school for engineering.
Yeah,
right?
Engineering. I went to Georgia Tech, mechanical engineering. I graduated in 2000. I worked as an engineer in Georgia for like 2 years. Came here, worked as an engineer for like a year, and then I went as a design engineer. I was building private home theaters. This company that was doing theaters for like Shaq and Michael Jackson, you know, like full-on theaters with like 50 seats and like recliners and, you know, the full system, projection, everything, you know, and themed. That was the major thing about it. That's where the artist part came. So it was a transition from engineering to design in that job. I did it for about
I'm just learning all new things about you. This is awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool.
All right, so engineering. I just want to cover all the different things that you were a part of, and then we'll tie it all together. So engineering, graphic design, and then you drew and you painted, because I met you as a painter, right? So how long were you doing that, and how did that come in?
That was inner artist is what I called that. We did there. And
can I explain it then? Okay, so this is what he would do. He would draw something, right?
Draw something.
He would draw a mural, and then communally everybody would have to paint it. And then at the end of the night, we would look at what the whole community that night would paint together. It was beautiful.
Yeah, somebody take it home.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, somebody took it home?
Yeah, somebody would always take it home.
Awesome.
I'd always give it away. And then I kind of changed it. I evolved it a little bit. It was more canvases.
Yeah.
And more artists. So I'd bring a bunch of artists, and it was always to an unsuspecting crowd, you know, because the venue would pay for it. And so I would set up like when I would do it big, and I did this for a couple of years. We would do 8 or 10 or a dozen setups, easels with, you know, the canvases and everything you need, paintbrushes, whatever, and we just pull people from the crowd in the place.
Wow.
Hey, come paint. Oh no, I don't paint. I don't want to paint. And I was like, no, just come try it out. No, I don't want to pay anything. How much does it cost? No, it's free. And they'd have no excuse. At the end of the day, they'd have no excuse. So I'd kind of force them one little bit. You know, like
just put us down here. That's it.
And I called it inner artist because I wanted people to find their inner artist.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I'm a believer that every single person has art
Absolutely
inside, has the creator inside. You know, so when you joy is creation. There's no other. That's all joy. If you look at it,
that's
it's
beautiful.
Creation, you know,
that
so
is beautiful.
I was just doing that kind of thing, and so I would do it in clubs sometimes. I would do it at I did it at Soho House for like a year. It was like a monthly thing. We did it with kids too.
Was this like just like a passionate thing you were doing on the side, or just career-wise?
Yeah, there was no money being made there. It was like it was just like whatever the venue would pay would cover all the materials.
Here. I love this stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
I know you are that way, so I know that. So yeah.
Okay, so art, painting, draw. Okay, so now let's kind of get to how does all of this kind of tie into where you are today? Like, how did engineering play into where you are today? How does that play? How does graphic design play into a part of where like the lessons you've learned and how that helps so much into your woodwork?
Yeah, all of it is coming together as one thing now. It really is, all of it, and it's cool. You know, a lot of the woodwork projects that I get, they're usually like, can we make that thing? Is it possible? You know, so engineer has to come in and like figure out, can I make this?
Yeah.
And then when I build it, like make sure I don't kill anybody with it.
Yeah.
You know. I remember I did for this jean store, One of K in Wynwood. We did this shelving system, right? And it had I don't know how much wood we used for it. It was crazy, but the shelf was like 2 major pieces. It went up a ceiling that was like about 25 feet tall, and half of it was like a mimic of their logo. The bottom of it was like resting on the floor, and the top half of it which weighed about 30,000 pounds, was hanging.
Yeah.
So I had to hang 30,000 pounds, you know?
Whoa.
So it's definitely
so you had to
come
make
in with
sure
the
that your
engineering.
numbers were on point.
Yeah, exactly.
I never thought about that.
It's
That's
been about
good.
5 years. It's been holding up. No issues. So
No
I
phone
think I
calls
did
yet.
okay. Nobody died yet. So, yeah. So no, I use the engineering for that. The branding side of it, I always try to fall within brand, you know, or help the client evolve the brand, even if I have nothing to do. I think branding is a thing that benefits all of us if you do it right, in the sense that when you're communicating right and authentically.
Yeah.
Not like branding, like use it as a tool to like trick people to buy shit, which a lot of companies do that, and we can all see where when that's happening, you know. But so I
you want to portray an idea. All right, so this is what happened. We were like recording, and then it just stopped.
Probably my dog.
It could have been my dog. I'm not gonna say it's your dog. It could have been my dog too.
No,
so
he's clumsy.
At some point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post up, because I have it on my phone. I'm gonna just post up what we recorded, because it was magic. This is my backup. Okay, what were we talking about again?
So let's see. We were talking about combining all the things.
Oh, interdisciplinary approaches to your craft. Okay, so is there any other like crafts and disciplines that you've practiced or done in the past that has been a huge influence to where you are today?
When I was in high school, I was doing a lot of art. That's when I was painting a lot. Okay. And I had fortunate to have a lot of good teachers. They taught me, some fundamental things, and taught me how to look with an observing eye. Because art, when you start out and you start learning how to draw, in developing the arm, in Spanish we say desarrollando, and that always comes to my mind because my dad would tell me that when I was little. He'd say, you want to draw, you want to do anything, you have to like develop it. People say, I can't draw, I can't move my hand, I can't draw a fixture. Well, if you keep trying, you will get it. It'll come. The connection between the hand and the brain.
That's a practice. That's a training.
And when you start, you gotta copy.
Yeah.
Why? Not because you want to keep copying, but because you want to observe.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that car is black. Okay, draw me that black car. It's like, you're not gonna draw just black. You're gonna draw white. You're gonna draw all the colors that are just reflecting. You're gonna draw all these things. But if you don't observe right, you won't see those things. You just see a black car.
That's beautiful.
So I had teachers that taught me how to observe. So in the art, I was doing art for a while, and then pretty much like I kept painting whenever I got inspired.
Yeah.
And I did one art show in my life.
Yeah.
2 maybe? I don't know. I did a series of paintings for like a year. I just went crazy and I started painting. I did like 11 pieces, really beautiful. It was a pride of lions, and I ended up giving them all away.
Yeah.
So yeah, the art is always there, and
I love it, man. So, okay. So, has there been any? Because you're talking about like kind of like an education background in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. So, for you, has there been any like mentors or teachers on the way that has really impacted you, and not just like taught you like steps 1, 2, 3, but really like I got my like direct influence from this individual?
When I got into the business, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a business out of this woodworking. There was a guy, and he's still in Miami, and I love him to death. His name is Azul Cadenas, Blue Chains. His company is Blue Chains Group, and he taught me a lot about the business, about being in it, and like
how it
works, how clients want things. I worked a lot with him in like the movie production sets. We were building sets.
Nice.
And then we would be, which is some of the most fun work I've ever done. I get a chance to do it every once in a while with him. We'll build a set, and then we'll be on set as the art directors. So like when the shot needs something, like we need to lift this up here or make this look like that, or man, we're like in the moment designing, making something for the shoot. But yeah, he taught me a lot. So when I think of like the business side, I think of him a lot, and I'm really thankful for everything he showed me. When I think of like influences as far as who I am as a designer, the great Pininfarina,
I won't probably know any of these names, but say them anyway.
Pininfarina. Pinin was his first name. Farina is his last name. The company's called Pininfarina. Yeah. It's his sons run it now. It's the Italian design house that designs Ferrari. Ferrari doesn't design in-house. Yeah. They may have designers in-house, but the majority of their Ferraris are designed out-of-house. So people bid for the design. Wow. To say, hey, this is the next one, it should be the Ferrari. And you gotta, that's a branding there too, because you gotta hit what Ferrari is. You can't just make a cool car and paint it red and put a thing on it, Pininfarina, And I recently learned he didn't get into automotive business until he was 40. So I'm like, I could start now. You know?
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, Pininfarina Giugiaro, which is another Italian designer, and this guy influenced me a lot. I remember doing papers on him when I was in college, because his span of disciplines of design is staggering, man.
Yeah.
He's designed, for instance, the fastest cooking pasta in the world.
What?
It's like the rotini or something, or I can't remember what the name of it is, but it has the most surface area to be able to whatever.
Some calculated stuff.
He's designed a floating city off the coast of Japan that's shaped like a pyramid. He's designed.
Wow.
He's had to do with over 20. He's had his hands in over 25,000 different car designs.
Wow.
That are on the road.
This is crazy.
This guy's
and this is something you wanted to do for a while, right? It was car design.
Cars
right?
was my passion, you know, because I always saw cars as like the most personal thing we buy.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you know, it's the most personal thing we buy. It's the one we take the longest to decide what we're gonna buy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, not for everybody. Not everybody likes cars. That's another thing I recognize now, just because of trends. People are like, oh, automotive cars can pick me up, or I need a car. So I get it. Not everybody's into cars, but I always saw, even if 3 people had the same car, their cars would look like them.
Yeah. Because
they would I don't know, they would pick the right color or the right accessory or something that was them. Like I could see their face and the eyes in the car and everything. I can almost like tell sometimes what kind of car people are driving because of like how they look or whatever. So, and then the car has everything in it. It has clothing in it, right? So you're a clothing designer doing seats. You're making watches and jewelry because that's like the bezels and the things in the front. You're making furniture because it's ergonomic and people have to like live in it. You know, you're doing engineering, you're doing design, and you're doing something spiritual. Like when you hit it right.
Yeah.
You know? So as a kid, I was always designing this because you know I loved cars. I'm crazy. I think I could have been a race car driver.
Yeah.
I have a godfather who was like a pro racer, and the whole side of the family was that. Yeah, I always loved cars. There's so much in it. I always saw women in the car, you know?
Yeah.
Like a really beautifully designed car, you know, would take on like a very strong feminine, you know, aspect to it. And yeah, so a lot of the ones that were the biggest influences were car designers.
Right.
But they always went outside of the best car designers, and this was a philosophy for BMW that they started like 20 years ago, was we're going to have our designers design a car 6 months they're in here, and 6 months they're going to do anything else. Like watches and shoes and whatever.
That's cool.
Because it gives you that fresh perspective, and you go find design. I think every designer, when you really get into being a designer and an artist, and you make a profession out of it, you start learning that like you want to diversify.
Yeah.
Because one, it takes you away from the thing so close that you can see it when you come back to it fresh eyes. But
absolutely.
You learn something in some other profession that can apply to.
Yeah, we learn it in speaking, how, you know, interesting speakers, they're not interesting because they speak well. They're interesting speakers because they have interesting lives. So we speak from a life that's interesting. And I think that resonates in the same way as any designer or any artist, which is this idea that you're not just coming from like, well, I work on this and I study this, but you're coming from a multiple, diverse area of different disciplines and thoughts and inspirations. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because I don't think a lot of people think that way as a creative. Is thinking about like, man, like of kind of like what we're talking about now, who I am, where I've come from, this influence, that influence, this person, and having that kind of wide span of inspiration is important.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, a lot of my inspiration comes from people who've never picked up a pen ever or drawn anything ever. They're just people that are not afraid to, I don't know, walk down a dark alley, or you know, like meet somebody and talk to somebody that is not the usual. You know, just being open-minded, because most of the creativity, and people always talk about like writer's block or creative block, that happens because you get too into the left brain, you know, into the logistics side of things.
The analytics.
You're trying to make, gotta be creative.
Yeah.
And creativity, I think, is largely opening yourself as a channel for it to come through you, man.
Yeah.
That's why.
So true.
That's why philosophically, I'm like, I don't know if we have original thought. I don't know if that exists, you know, because everything under the sun comes from one place.
Yeah.
You know, so there's something you're tapping into there. You know.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who are artists, and when I do art, that's when I tap in a lot, because I just let loose. But I have friends who do that professionally, and it's almost like they're being not possessed, but it's almost like, you know, the energy's flowing through them onto canvas, and then they look back at it and they're like, what did I paint, you know?
Yeah.
Well, my friend Jenny Perez, she's an artist, and she talks about, like, she looks back at her paintings years ago and she's like, wow, I didn't even know I was painting like what's happening now.
Yeah.
Or I was painting my grandparents, or
That
I was
is
painting,
nuts, right?
this was telling me it, and it takes for somebody else to come and look at it, you know?
Yeah, and I think it was the Greeks that say it. It's not that you are a creative genius; it's that you have a creative genius. Meaning that it's like this it's like this external spirit that comes in you and with you and through you and works through you. But sometimes I think that the ego of any artist is that, oh, I am the creative genius, and I think that's why we have so many starving and struggling and dying artists, is because it's too much about themselves and not enough about an openness.
I wonder if that's because of the influence of having to make a business and a market out of it. You know, like if we lived in a world where you don't have to make money to, you know, make your way in the world. If you were just a world where creativity was the currency, then in the sense that, like, that's where I'm getting my joy. So that's all I need. Then maybe you wouldn't have such a large influence. But you know, we live in a world of, like, I have to present myself some way, and I'm trying to build a resume, and I'm trying to get that next job. And so there's like so many pitfalls where you can trip yourself up and think yourself like so big, you know. And I make as much of an effort as I can to, like, keep reminding myself, like, who the fuck you think you are, man?
Yeah, right. And that's a tough one, especially when people are like, I love your work, and you do great stuff, and of course it gets to you at some point, and it feels good. And we were talking about this a couple weeks ago about just like, rather than doing something for the love, you do it from the love. And trying to remind yourself is a struggle in itself. You just do it from a place here, not to obtain anything else.
You know what I love, and this is the moment where I get humbled, and I remember that, let's stay humble, is every project, everything I've ever built, there's been a mistake in it.
Yeah.
Somewhere. You know, along the process, I'll be going along like, oh, this one looks like it might be perfect. I might not mess anything up on this one, and something comes. In that moment, I'm reminded that the imperfection is perfection.
Yeah.
You know? And like,
some of the greatest things ever created were mistakes.
This is fun. This is like, you did it because you love it, you know.
Absolutely.
And don't, because it could also make you hesitant for the next project if you think you're like big dude.
Trying to be too perfectionist.
Yeah, you're too perfectionist, and you go to the next one, and you can't find creativity because you're like, oh, I have to deliver like the last one. It's like, you never really know which one is gonna hit. It's kind of crazy. I mean, you do kind of a little bit, you know. But when I was doing branding, I was doing graphic design. I'd send like a whole bunch of designs out to the client, and like the one I worked hardest on and stayed forever and thought about the most, they're like, nah. And the one I gave 2 seconds to, you know, and I just like,
that's it.
They're like, oh my god, that's genius. And it's like, okay, all right, whatever. So. You know?
You never know, man.
You never know.
That's so crazy.
It is about staying in the flow, and I think it's really just stay open. You never know what the next influence is going to be.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, we could talk about creativity for days. I absolutely love this conversation. Okay, so a couple more minutes on just like the background of things. Okay, so as the artist that you are today, is there any pieces of work that you've seen in the past that when you saw it, you were like, I want to do this? You know, like for me, it would be like music videos, or for me, it would be like breaking 1 and 2 or Beat Street. I'm like, I want to break for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? So what would be pieces of work that you've seen and you're like, I want to do this?
So much, man.
Oh, go for it.
So much.
I'll give you 5. How about that?
Well, I mean, I'm building a bus right now.
Oh my god.
For myself, I'm building like I converted.
When does it end?
A transit bus, like a Prevost transit bus. You know, like 65-seater motor coach. And I'm turning it into an RV, you know?
Oh my gosh.
And that's a little bit because of the car love, and it's dipping my foot into the car, like, for real now, you know, like to the transportation for real. But it's because of a lot of stuff I've seen. It's just like, wow, man, I want that. I want to do that. I can make it happen. There's a lot. There's been art that has influenced me a lot. There's been, you know, we're lucky here in Miami to go to Art Basel.
Yeah.
I've cried a few times, you know, seen pieces, you know. But, you know, I don't know if I've ever been like, oh, I want to make that specific thing.
Yeah.
I've been more like, dude, I want to catch myself in that moment when I'm there. Like, I look at a big project and I'm like, wow, the process of that project must have been humongous.
Yeah.
I can imagine sketching phases, you know, being with the client, inspirational, then you're getting tighter, you start getting to the 3D, you start, you know, making mock-ups, and I would always picture myself like, fun life, happy life is somewhere on some desk with a bunch of like things and creatives and knives and markers and all this stuff and like chopping it up. And if I could catch myself there when I'm in the process, that's when I catch myself in a happy moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is exactly.
That's
what
when
I want,
you found something. When you're in the process and you're just lost.
Yeah, you're just lost in the process. So if that was always more what I wanted. I want to be lost in that process. I want to be so lost in the process that like nothing else exists except that thing until I'm done with it. That's more what I chase more than that. And so sometimes it kind of backfires because it's like a client will come and like, no, dude, I wasn't trying to make this huge inspirational thing. I just got to kind of fabricate this thing and put it into place.
Yeah,
and working, And I was trying to be all into it because that's my joy. But most of the time, it's exactly what they want.
Oh my god!
People are like saying, okay, I'm going to Pablo because that's what he's going to give me. He's going to give me something that is going to like some feeling in it. And there's vibratory energy in it. You know about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's vibratory energy in it.
Yeah. What's the first piece that you created that you're like, I definitely need to pursue this?
Yeah. There was a desk that I did. I want to say like 4 years ago. So it's been 6 years I think I've been into it.
Yeah.
The first couple of years I did a lot of rustic pieces, a lot of fun pieces. I was seeing a lot of things that were out there in the world, and I was like, yeah, let me take one step further. Let me just get. It's very loose. But when I started working at the makerspace, instead of having my own shop, that opened up the possibility to use these tools that were like high end. $80,000 saws. I probably never get that in my life. Like I don't know if I ever spent $80,000 on a saw, but here it is. You have access to it now. So I remember I did this desk. It broke all the things that I was used to doing.
Yeah. And
very geometric, and I just dove right in and I told the client, yeah, I could do it, and here it is. And I did the design, all 3D. So far, so good. Everything's all imaginary on paper. And when I went to go make it, it was a challenge. And when I made it, I was like, yeah,
this is it.
Yeah, I feel good.
I feel like. So where do you want to take this stuff? Big dream. Like I would love to build this, or I would love to have some sort of creative design in this.
Yeah, my plan is to create a makerspace in Miami. There's a few different attempts, people doing it.
I love. Okay, sorry to interrupt. I love the fact that you just said that your dream is to create a space to help others create. Yeah, that is beautiful. Keep going.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah! If we all move into creation, all the problems go away, man. All the problems go away. If you just instead of wake up and bitch about what's going on, go just make something.
Oh, that's so true.
Just go make it. Go make something. Make. It doesn't have to be a piece of wood or furniture or something great. So you can make just a setting, a group of people, bring them together. Make a moment happen. Like any of that is fun. No, I want to make a makerspace, and my secret little sneaky plan behind the makerspace is so makerspaces when they're done right, they reach a certain size.
Yeah.
We're talking, and I didn't know this until a couple of years ago, and that's when my eyes opened up to the makerspace idea. But they reached 50,000 square feet.
Wow.
When they really hit success, because you start putting all the disciplines, you start getting all the studio and the interest around it, and all the people coming together, it needs that much space.
Yeah.
So it starts growing that space. So I would love to have a space like that one day exist in Miami, because more and more people are becoming creative in Miami.
Yeah.
More things are starting to be made out of Miami.
It's been building the last decade as a creative hub.
Yeah. People are itching for it right now.
Absolutely.
So make a space like that in Miami. Have all the disciplines on there. People making clothes, people making metal stuff, concrete, pottery, artists, branders, woodworkers. Put them all under one roof, and then and manage the place. Step back a little bit. Have my little crazy mad laboratory where I do my things, but manage the thing, and then one day just hop into cars.
Oh my god!
Make a car, and there are my artisans. There are my people to make the car.
Yeah.
And I'm talking low run.
Yeah.
Numbers. Not GM or something trying to put that. Not even like a Ferrari. Low run numbers. Specialized cars. Make a car with the DNA of Miami. That would be awesome.
Oh, that's so good.
That's what I'm.
What is that? Is the dog?
That sounds like a dog.
I think I thought it was a dog crying. Okay, so all right, a couple more questions.
Yeah.
All right, so for example, my wife's getting into woodworking,
Mm-hmm.
so right. So what would you tell somebody from your journey and your experience,
Mm-hmm.
Take education, jump into experience, try this, try that. What would you say as far as short advice for someone getting into that direction of field?
50% of the whole thing is courage. right? Because I see a lot of people with skill. I've met a lot of people with skill, but they're very hesitant to do something that's like out of the box. They're playing it very safe. And then not only for that, I mean that's one aspect, but as you're learning, if you don't have courage, you're not gonna learn.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have courage to like mess something up, use that saw and like cut it wrong and break it, or you know, I just did all this work on it and I could take one step further that I really want, but I'm scared, you know, and you don't do it, then you won't do it.
Yeah.
So half of it is courage, and I learned so much of it fast because I just wasn't like, I never got trained in the field, right?
Yeah.
So I never had like somebody tell me, hey, this is how it's done, and these are the steps you got to do.
Yeah, you observed.
I stepped into it.
Yeah.
I just stepped into it. So when I stepped into it, I was like, hey, can I play with that? Can I do this? Can I mess with that? And I made mistakes.
What is it? I think it's the pipes. Cut. What is it?
Something from outside.
That's so weird.
Okay, buddy.
I feel like it's somebody drilling.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's what it is, because we have new neighbors and they might be drilling into the wall.
Oh yeah, that's drilling in the concrete. Yeah, it's kind of like a
Unbelievable.
deep resonance.
Great.
Yeah.
Love
We're
it.
trying to record people.
It's okay. Okay.
So 50% of it is courage. Have courage. Do the thing.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. Do
That's
it.
so good.
You know, the coolest things come out of like when you have courage.
Oh my gosh.
And if you mess up, don't worry. It's part of it. It's
Yeah.
a profession.
Have you had any like mess ups where you're like,
I've had mess ups where I was like, wait a minute, now to fix it, I got to do it this way, and that is cooler.
I love that.
So I'm like, yeah,
You
that's
make it- you
cooler.
make it
That's
work.
much cooler. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. I told myself one thing when I got into this whole thing that I said, this business is not going to be stressful for me. I'm not going to stress about this.
I
I'm
love
not
it.
going to do it. I've stressed. I've broken that rule because I've taken on jobs. You know, last year I took on a really big job that like called for a lot of pieces to be done in a very short amount of time, and they really trusted me. I've never done business with these clients before, so you stress sometimes, but I don't want that in there. So I always told myself, you know, no stress.
Yeah.
So
And
courage,
it
no
really
stress,
does
and-
take away from the effort that you put into your work because you're thinking about something else. It's just total distraction.
Yeah.
completely.
No, I go into the piece. I stay in the piece. I'm there thinking about just the piece. I have fun with it. It's really nice, man. When you're done with something tangible and you hold it and you sit on it and you're like, oh, okay, now that I got it built, let me sit on it and see if like it holds me up. If I can lean in this chair, if I can do this, like, whatever, you know.
So good.
So
All right, so courage.
Courage.
And what else? Get a couple other
find a place to work, you know.
Yeah.
And you could do it on your own in a garage, whatever. I started on the balcony of like an apartment that I had.
Yeah.
That's where I first had a pretty big balcony. I had a little canopy over there, and
Nice.
so I should put my tools
What about like
outside.
education wise? Like, I mean, I know you're allowed to self-educate, but what would you say in that nature?
University of YouTube.
That's it,
You know?
right?
I mean,
Learn everything.
If nothing else, you know, if nothing else, it's there.
Oh my! I think I've taught most of my own skills to myself on YouTube.
Yeah,
So
dude,
legit.
that's the world we're in. You know, even when I went to engineering school, though, it was the same thing. My school taught me how to teach myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't, the teachers weren't about like, oh, I'm going to walk you through this and I'm going to help you get an A on this test.
Yeah.
They weren't at all. They were like, dude, this is what it is, da-da-da-da-da. At the beginning of every class, if you don't know the other shit, you better know it because we're going to know it in this class. And, you know.
I'm learning all that again in my life, especially my studies, that like as long as you give yourself a curriculum
Mhm.
and understand like and discipline yourself in it, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And if you really think about it, formal education period is just a structured way of educating.
Yeah.
Right? You come this day at this time and you're gonna do this within your
Which started as an apprenticeship, right?
Right.
Probably the whole school thing started as just apprenticeship being organized.
Yeah, man.
Like, hey, you're learning from this guy. You want to teach another guy. You want to teach 10 people. You want to get together with all your other guys that can teach, and you want to make a little school. You know.
And then money just kind of adds to the desire of it. Like, you know, the more you pay for it, you're like, well, I gotta do this because I'm paying for it.
Mhm.
Versus like the inner desire that is like not invaluable, you know, priceless,
Yeah.
which is tough for people to do. Which is just like, I really want this, and I'm really gonna learn this.
Yeah.
You know?
Find a makerspace. They're
Yeah.
popping up everywhere. Miami is just it has a handful. You know, go to Miami Industrial Arts. That's where I go to.
Okay.
You pay membership. You can get in there, learn the tools. The guy will teach you one tool at a time. You know, and so you go work on them yourself. And there's other woodworkers in there. You can learn and collaborate. You know, when you're not working, you're like peeking at somebody else's work, or they're peeking at
I love
yours.
it.
You know,
I love it.
That's the way to do it, man.
I love your communal approach to everything, man. I mean, ever since I met you, it's always been this like getting more people involved in this work, and it's not just about like this artist. It's about
Yeah.
we're all. I love that approach to
Synchronicity, man.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no coincidence. There's no stranger, man. Even the strangest person that like just walks by you and you're like, that person has nothing to do with me. They have everything to do with you. There's
Absolutely.
something you don't know the details, but they are so like probably so close to you. They're probably 2 degrees to you somehow.
Yeah, man,
you know.
it's so nuts.
So I take it as like I let it come from the promise of like saying to myself, I'm not gonna stress in this. I don't want to stress in this venture or going down this road. And combining it with like letting it like with whatever synchronistically came, whatever influences came, it's been fun, man. It's been fun.
That's
Let it
so
be,
good.
and cool
Alright,
things come out.
So all the work that you do, how can people like follow your work, or how can they get connected?
Mainly,
with you?
I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
That's worked a lot for me. You know.
So Pablo Ricatti.
Yeah, just Pablo Ricatti, Pablo_Ricatti at Instagram. Yeah, I have a website, but I have not updated in years. That's a lot of my branding work on my website, PabloRicatti.com.
What's interesting about websites, and we can talk about this for hours too, is that it's kind of like almost like a business card. Like it's where it's like, this is just to show you that I have something, but you're not gonna look at it. You know what I mean? Because most is like just put your number.
You know, I like Instagram because it's in that moment. I finish the piece, I'm like, done. Okay, that's it. You know, the website, for some reason, I have this thing. I'm like, I gotta take the perfect pictures, and I gotta do this, sit in front of my computer and fit the whole thing together. It's like I am gonna update it though.
Yeah, don't worry.
Next year. So,
I'd rather see your professionalism in your wood than on your digital.
yeah.
All right. So last question, and I try to ask this to everybody. If you can say with one word, and then you can explain the word, but in one word, how would you describe your creativeness, your work?
Heart.
Whew.
For sure.
Elaborate,
For
please.
Sure. That's the whole experience on this earth, man.
Yeah.
It's heart, you know? It's like knowing your own heart, following it, doing it, listening to it. I've always it's cheesy, but I've always been that guy that like I lead with my heart. It's got me into trouble a lot. It didn't bring, you know, much stability until later, but it's hard, man. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's like.
But you believed in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's where the joy is at, man. That's where everything's at, you know. And if you make a piece like that, it lasts forever. People love it, and people know you for that. They come for that, you know. But yeah, it's hard, man, because all the other stuff is just phony. You know?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, Pablo Ricatti. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, man.
Awesome, man. All right, guys. So get in touch with this guy. Look at his work from Miami and wherever else he's going to be in the world. From woodwork to painting to cars to everything else, multimedia. Definitely check him out. And we'll see you guys next time on another episode of TAIOACI.